Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome back to Gearhead Daily. I'm your boy Eric, as usual, beard, mustache on point for today. And a friend of mine sent this to me. His name's Tim, super cool guy. Shout out to Tim. How you doing? Sent me this link today to something I thought you might find pretty interesting. And what this is a basically a culmination of every spec of every engine that is out in North America currently in 2019. I looked for my Corvette engine, the LS7. It's not on here, but I thought this was pretty interesting, and I wanted to share it with you. And I will I will put in the link in the description about what this is and where you can find it. And it also they will send you a poster of this too if you register. They'll send you one, which is pretty cool. So you can get it in a spreadsheet, or you can get this in this PDF format that I'm going to show you, but also in a poster format too, so if you want to have it on your wall, pretty awesome. But Molly is the company, and Ward's Auto put this together. Molly, if you're not familiar, is a company that makes bearings and pistons and that sort of thing. They're pretty big in that market right now. They're kind of ubiquitous. They're kind of everywhere. Molly makes high performance and everything from like your basic standard rebuild all the way up to monster engine bearing performance stuff. And I in my closet I found my Austin Dillon T-shirt today, so. Repping the NASCAR stuff today, but some of this is pretty interesting, so let me kind of walk you through it. And I do apologize, it is a very large file, and sometimes scrolling does kind of mess with performance a little bit of my computer. So let's again, I love information, I love where this stuff comes from, but this is the interesting thing. It will tell you where those engines are built. So FCA, Fiat Chrysler of America, has a electric motor, obviously, made in Dundee, and let's see, it'll also tell you volume numbers too, which I thought was it's just cool information. How many of these did they actually make? And if you look, there's some made in Italy. There's at least for Fiat anyway, makes sense. They're an Italian company. You've got a bunch of them made in Mexico and some made in Indiana, like your Cummins diesel stuff here. It'll tell you the layout of it, which I thought was also very good information. Bore and stroke information, very cool. Compression ratios, performance, torque numbers, horsepower torque numbers, fuel system valving type. So this is again, I think this is good information to have just on hand. It's not going to make for a super interesting video, but at least you know where to find it, and that's where the cool stuff is. It'll tell you what vehicle these motors and engines are going into, and they do have a list of electric motors too, and they do have Tesla. So let me get there in just a second. It'll tell you what kind of connecting rod it has, and with the electric vehicles, it's got a lithium-ion heated and cooled battery pack. Try and zoom in so you can see it right there at the very top. And a couple of these motor engines have. Like the Ram 1500 MHEV, the electric vehicle one has a motor plus some extra little bits that kind of help push the engine along a little bit. This one develops 122 nanometers of torque from a 48 volt lithium-ion battery, so pretty cool stuff. I'll tell you the camshaft type and the intake material, whether it's cast or composite. And then it'll tell you how many engines were totally made in 2018, and does Molly make products for it? And I thought that was kind of interesting. So let's kind of go down the list and kind of see what's out there. Okay, and here's the interesting thing. I got a friend of mine who's always bragging to me about how his Ford is made in it's the only American-made car left. Well, look at where our engines are made. Romania. Some of them are made in Dearborn, sure. Spain, Cleveland, Mexico, England, that's probably for those European ones. South Africa, Cleveland, Lima, Canada. Those 5 liters made of Canada. Look at that, 200,000 motors made in Canada, Ontario. So sorry, they're not all American, and I don't really think that's possible anymore to get a fully 100% American or Japanese or European or Italian or German or whatever. It's just not going to happen anymore. Globalization is too big, too widespread for that to happen. So yeah, currently the biggest motor that the Ford makes is a 6.8 liter. Probably goes in a truck, I would assume, or a van. Yeah, they're E-Series chassis, so that makes sense. You got the Super Duty trucks that go with the those larger engines with 675 foot-pounds. So, yeah, that's quite a bit. So, let's we can shimmy on down here to General Motors. They have quite the range, all the way from a 1.4 liter. Let's see, all the way down to a 6.6 liter. My 7 liters not on there anymore. It's poof, it's gone. They don't make them anymore. I don't know if that makes it more valuable or less valuable, but they made 2,726,000 engines compared to 2,672,000 engines for Ford. So a difference of, I don't know, what is that, 50,000, give or take? So just smaller range, but same volume of engines. I just find this information kind of fascinating. I'll let you kind of go through it, but here's the one I thought that was kind of interesting. It's not, again, not a super long video today, but cool information, cool to know. I always like knowing these things. So BMW, a lot of your stuff is, of course, going to be made in Austria. BMW, if you don't know what it stands for Bavarian Motor Works. And a lot of this is pretty interesting. So we've got Daimler here, all made in a place called Germany. Never heard of it. Honda, those are, your Accords and Civics and that sort of thing, CRVs, etc. Hyundai, which you'd be hard pressed to get me to buy a Hyundai. They copy all the designs, and I know they're getting better and that sort of thing, but I don't know, I just feel like a knockoff every time I see it. Those are clearly made in Korea. You get a couple here made in the couple 100,000 or 124,000 made in Montgomery. Those are the engines anyway. Jaguar, Austin Powers Jaguar, which is a Ford owned deal here. But here's the interesting one. I'm going to scroll down: Land Rover, Mitsubishi, Nissan, Porsche. Look at this. So if we scroll over and see, Molly makes a bunch of stuff for the Porsche stuff. The one they're missing is, it looks like, the 4 liter. 3.8 liter. It's pretty low numbers, 700 motors total made, so not a whole lot, but it makes a ton of power. Look at that, 553 foot-pounds. So that's pretty cool. Subaru, if you own a Subaru, you have to look elsewhere. SOL, you're screwed. Of the 650,000 motors made last year, they got nothing. Molly's got nothing for you. But if we go over to Tesla, here's the thing. A lot of blanks in this one. I thought this was fairly interesting, but they still have spec on it, which I thought was cool because there's no pistons, there's no connecting rods, there's no, they probably will make a bearing at some point for it. I'm not sure which component that might be. It might be wheel bearings maybe, but these are mostly internal bearings that Molly makes, and I'm sure they make other products as well. But check it out, blank, right? They don't have a name for the motor. It's just blank. It doesn't have a type. It's just blank. There's obviously no bore and stroke information because it doesn't have a bore and a stroke. And then, of course, we've got some power numbers based on it. It's 2 liquid-cooled AC inducted motors. That's basically all it tells you. It tells you the model, though. And the Model 3, look at that. Model 3 makes less power than the new ones, probably why it's cheaper. So 100 or 175 or 100 kilowatt lithium-ion batteries. I've got a video coming up about those things catching on fire like crazy, and if anybody remembers the Samsung Note 7, those things also caught fire like crazy. But here's the other one that I thought was kind of neat, was Toyota, right? Pretty big organization, and they've got a ton of different engines here. It's almost 2 million, and it's not until you get to the very bottom here of the list does Molly start supporting these products. So basically, the 3.5 liter and up. I'm guessing that's by volume. I'm not sure, but looks like there's a few motors here, like the 1.8, for example. They don't make anything currently. Not sure why about that, but if you own a Volkswagen, you're in luck. If you own a Volvo made in Sweden, you're SOL. Sorry. So anyway, I'll put a link in the description. Hope this was helpful. It's a lot of fun to kind of go through this stuff. But hey, thanks a lot for joining me, and everybody who's subscribed recently. Welcome, and have a good day, guys.